The big steel door thunked shut behind me. It always makes that awful sound. It's the sound of the world locking you out, you know? Just another day in this concrete box. I scratched the stubble on my chin, feeling that usual kind of low, heavy feeling you get in a place like this. Everything smells like bleach and old regret. But then I saw him. I gave a low whistle, just a little tune I make up, and sure enough, a pair of floppy, brown and white ears popped up from the foot of my cot. That's Scout. He's a mutt, the best kind, mostly beagle, maybe a little bit of everything good that he doesn't bark here. He's too smart for that. He just give a little sneeze, stretches out like he's got all the time in the world, and then his tail starts beating the floor like a drum. He's all wiggles and happiness. "Morning, buddy," I whispered, dropping down on my knees. He gave me a wet-nosed nudge on the hand, the most honest greeting I've gotten in years. I buried my face in his fur, right behind his ears, and just took a deep breath. He smells like outside, like grass, like everything this place isn't. Scout's part of the prison's therapy program. The guards say he's here to teach us responsibility and how to trust again. For me, it's simpler. He's the only creature in this whole miserable building that looks at me and doesn't see my crime or my number. He just sees John. I spent a good hour tossing him a rolled up sock. That's our ball. He'd fetch it every single time, skidding a little on the floor, his whole body shaking with excitement. For that hour, those gray walls just disappeared. It wasn't a cell, it was a backyard, and we were just two guys playing catch. Later, when I was sitting on my cot reading, he hopped up next to me. He didn't want to play, he just wanted to be close. He rested his chin right on my leg. He's heavy, he's warm, and he's completely real. Everything in here is about what you don't have. But with Scout, I have a job. I have to feed him, walk him in that little fenced-in yard, check his paws. I have to be dependable. That feeling of being needed, even for something small, it's the thing that keeps all the bad thoughts from taking over tea night. When the lights are off, I just reach out in the dark and find his warm, solid body pressed against my side. And for those few hours, listening to him breathe, I don't feel like a prisoner. I just feel like a guy who has something good in his life. He's my anchor, and I know, deep down, that when I finally walk out that gate, it won't just be about leaving this place. It'll be about taking Scout home. That he's just the best thing that ever happened to me in here. What do you think about those prison dog programs? They're pretty amazing. Huh? You gotta understand, I wasn't supposed to be here. I was framed. My business partner, a rat named Harris, embezzled a fortune, then pinned it on me when the feds came snooping. The proof I needed was a ledger hidden in a safety deposit box, and I couldn't touch it from this concrete cage. I've been fighting appeals for 2 years, and every one of them came back stamped, denied. That's when the desperation really set in. The days I spent with Scout weren't just playtime, they were planning sessions. I noticed things because of him. The way the chain link in the yard was always loose near the old maintenance shed, because the grounds crew couldn't be bothered. The way the night guard, Miller, always took a smoke break by the east wall at 2 a.m., right after the main check, leaving a 7-minute window. Scout was more than a distraction. He was my accomplice. His training for the therapy program included advanced commands. Nothing fancy, just stay go and find. But I'd added a few of my own, a quiet whistle for wait for the sound, and a specific hand motion for run as fast as you can. The night I went for was freezing. I gave Scout a handful of treats, the last ones I had, and looked him straight in the eyes. I didn't feel any guilt about bringing him. I needed him, and I knew if I stayed, I'd just at T1:55 a.m., I put Scout's worn-out harness on him. The moment Miller's cigarette cherry appeared by the perimeter, I was through the air vent I'd been widening for weeks. I met Scout in the abandoned maintenance shed, a cold, dark pocket between two buildings. I whispered, "Wait for the sound," and his tail gave one nervous thump against my leg. I pulled the chain link aside. It gave with a metallic screech that sounded deafening, and crawled under. Now for the hardest part. The outer wall. It was 15 feet of brick with a razor wire crown, but there was a blind spot, a small patch where the security lights were dead. I boosted myself up onto the shed roof, the rough asphalt tearing in my hands. Go, Scout. Fine, I commanded, pointing toward the field on the other side. Scout, without hesitation, jumped down, sprinted through the gap in the chain link, and headed for the darkness. He wasn't running free. He was running to draw the eye. Just as I reached the top of the brick wall, a searchlight blasted on, cutting through the night. The alarm began to wail, a shrill, panic-inducing noise. Freeze! Get down! But it wasn't the light or the voice that made me freeze. It was the sound of a bark. A terrified, high-pitched yelp I hadn't heard from him in years, followed by the sickening, sharp report of a rifle. Scout had been spotted. The guard hadn't seen me yet, climbing the wall in the blind spot, but he had seen the movement in the field. He'd seen the dog that I scrambled over the razor wire, the sharp barbs snagging my shirt. I dropped hard into the dirt on the other side, rolling to break the impact. I was out, I didn't stop to look back. I couldn't. I heard them shouting, the boots hitting the ground, the dogs barking, the prison dogs, not my boy, that I ran full out, tears mixing with the sweat and blood on my face. When I was 3 miles away, hidden deep in a cold, black culvert, I finally stopped. My whole body was shaking. I called his name, a soft, desperate whisper. Scout, come on, buddy. Scout. But there was only the wind that he bought me the seconds I needed. By drawing attention away from the wall and out into the field, he pulled the scope off me just long enough for me to get over. He chose me. I never got to take him home. But 2 weeks later, using the contacts and plans I'd made, I found Harris's safety deposit box. I turned over the ledger to a clean lawyer. Within a month, the truth was undeniable. My conviction was overturned. I was a free man that I didn't go celebrate. I went back to the old maintenance shed field, waited until the middle of the night, and dug a small hole under the cold, silent stars that I'm free now. I have my life back, but every time I walk into a room, it feels too quiet. I never forget the sound of that bark, or the knowledge that the only reason I'm not in that box anymore is because a scruffy, brave, good-hearted dog made the ultimate sacrifice for the man who was supposed to protect him. Sometimes being free feels a lot heavier than being locked up. I just try to live a life that was worth what he gave. You think a sacrifice like that is ever truly worth the freedom it buys?